idea from the Periphery album, and I thought it was a brilliant thing to do, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And I'm sure this isn't how they do it, but I'd try it myself, and here's that. Basically what I'm doing there is I'll have a sort of short run of 16th or 32nd notes, and then I'll just go down into ridiculously small note divisions for a quick roll that makes it almost sound like one note, but it just really adds something to it. I'll show you that with just the drums first, and then I'll add the guitars in. Because over a fairly basic beat there, I'm adding sort of triplet sounds and things like that, which just give it a bit more depth to the sound. I mean, the key is with things like this is not to overuse them, because they can overbear a song and make it sound like it's just a gimmick, but if you use them in a small amount, like I have done here, just in a small bit, I think it can really add. And here it is with just the left and right guitar. Okay, and what we got here is the beginning of the next section, which is in 7/8 timing, and you know, just something different to playing in a boring time signature. I'm not particularly well versed in music theory, but I did do a music A level and did learn quite a lot from it. I didn't do too well in it, but here I have the glitch beat carry on for 4 bars, and I have the first chord of the next sequence playing in 2 different octaves in track 6 and 7, with a really cool reverse reverb on there done in Space Designer, which if you just press this button here it reverses it. And then I've messed around with the EQ a bit, but that's stuff you just work out from playing around with it. I've kept quite a lot of the dry signal, but put a lot more reverb than it comes with, and I've taken the length down to just 1.3 seconds, which is all you really need. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, this sounds like a different guitar, but it's just my SG in the middle position pickup. The neck pickup on that guitar is really great. It's quite a lot hotter than the bridge pickup. It's got a really high output, and it's really good for soloing, but not so good for rhythm. But it really comes through well in this section here, which once again could do with some bass, but there's nothing I can do about that. And the beat I'm using here is just a basic beat. I've changed some of the velocities around very slightly just to make it sound a bit more human. Make it not sound like I've done it in Logic, even though it does sound like I've done it in Logic. And here is a similar drum beat, but I've moved what was on the ride cymbal to the hi-hat, and there is an accented cymbal hit or a stack hit on every snare hit, and I've changed the guitars back to the really distorted bridge humbucker tone, and I'm chugging on this track, and on this track it's the same part as on track 4 and 5. I mean, there's no variations on that beat yet, but there will be once I've finished this track. And here is the final section, which has just got a slightly different drum beat and a more rhythm-oriented guitar part. I mean, with recording, I found one of the most important things is to make sure that you get a good high level without clipping when you record the guitar in the first place, because it's a lot easier to make something slightly louder than it is to get rid of a digital distortion, which just sounds horrible. And yeah, it's 100% vital when you're recording, no matter what you're set up to double track left and right. You don't always have to pan them as harshly as I have done here, and sometimes it adds a lot if you add a central track to the mix as well, but it always just makes a song sound that bit more professional. With the drums, when you're going through the mixer in Superior Drummer, it's important just to take care of the pan and make sure you're not doing a whole song with one cymbal, or you're not doing a whole song with cymbals only grouped on one side. You want to give a full sort of panned experience. and you don't want to be too heavy with reverb on the drum kit, because otherwise you'll sound like Def Leppard, which may be good for some but isn't particularly great for this genre of music. And I find the easiest way to make everything sound great together is through the master channel here, or output 1, 2. And what I do with that, I'll put a compressor on there, and I usually just leave that the default, but I'll take the limiter off and make sure it's on the platinum circuit. I mean, that really just groups all the instruments together a bit and makes them sound really good. And I use a limiter, but you've got to be really careful with that, because it can make an almost sidechain compression effect on the cymbals, especially when combined with sort of a quite thick drum sound, which is, it can be undesirable. But I use the classical music preset, turn the gain a bit and leave the softening on, and I think it really brings out everything in the mix and makes it sound a lot more like a unit rather than a group of separate tracks. I use the adaptive limiter to much the same effect, and then just take a few of the really high frequencies off and add a little blip in there, but as soon as I've recorded bass guitar for this, that'll be gone. Sometimes a good effect to use would be sub bass, and if you're doing a different style music, something that calls for a bit more of a vintage vibe, another good trick with this is if you put the tape delay on it and you set the time of the delay to as short as possible, then you turn the dry signal down and turn the wet signal all the way up, you get the output from the tape delay, which gives it a really nice sort of analog sound and just makes it sound like it's been recorded on a tape. And it's a really nice thing to do. I'll show you that in a different tutorial. Anyway, this has been my first tutorial, so please be nice to me. I hope this has covered most of the stuff you want to know, and if there's anything I didn't cover, just post it in the comments or send me a message and I'll do my best to help you. I'm afraid I can't do any other music software because I don't have any and don't have any knowledge of any, but if you want me to do any other tutorials for different styles of music or for different aspects of Logic, I mean, I can give you tutorials on electronic music or on making a sort of indie track or anything, pop, rock, whatever. But, I hope this has been helpful, and thanks a lot for watching. If you could comment and rate and subscribe, get your friends to as well. Anyway, thanks a lot for your views. Cheers.